everyone, welcome back to the Jikook news channel. The latest episode of Are You Sure gave us some of the softest and most intimate Jikook moments so far. Nothing loud, nothing dramatic, just quiet closeness. A closeness that speaks for itself. And today, I want to start with one particular moment. A moment that looks small, yet says so much. Jikook lying on the same bed, close, comfortable, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. What immediately caught my attention, and many others, was the fact that both were clearly still awake. Jimin still with his phone. You can even see the dim glow of the screen before he turns it off. Jikook is awake too, moving closer, aware, gentle. So when the editor added the caption, "Waking up his Hyung who suddenly fell asleep," I was honestly confused. Waking him up how? Jimin was clearly not asleep. He was still holding his phone. It didn't feel like Jikook was waking him. It felt like he chose to come closer. As if he was saying, "I'm here." And then there's that moment, the small movement, the closeness that almost looks like a kiss. Nothing shown clearly, but that's exactly why it feels so intimate. Soft, private, unforced. The kind of moment that makes you stop and rewatch, not because it's dramatic, but because it feels real. Two people sharing space, comfort, and familiarity without needing words. And honestly, moments like this are what make Jikook feel different. It's not about proving anything. It's about how they naturally gravitate toward each other, especially when no one is supposed to be looking. The longer I watched, the faster my heartbeat became. Jikook gently shifts Jimin, turning him toward himself, pulling him closer, their heads touching. Just like that. Quiet, intimate, breath-stealing. And those whispers, they don't make it any easier to breathe. Some fans say he murmured, "Slowly, take it slow." Then what are we supposed to do with that? How do we process a moment so tender, fragile, and perfect? Moments like these show why their dynamic feels different from others. Jikook with that hungry, admiring gaze toward Jimin. Jimin with that soft, shy look returned to him. Every glance, every small movement, every gentle touch speaks louder than words. You don't need captions or explanations. It's already clear. This isn't just closeness. It's a language of affection that only they seem to understand. A small world full of temptation, attention, warmth, and longing, living quietly and beautifully side by side. Watching them feels like watching two people who fit, naturally, effortlessly, always drawn to each other. Even the smallest details reinforce that closeness, like the way Jimin's leg rests between Jikook's, a subtle but intimate sign of comfort and connection. Every look, every touch, every shared breath makes their bond feel unmistakable, so clear and genuinely captivating. And as the camera slowly pulls back, as if giving us room to breathe, something lingers in the air. Something that can't be explained through angles or editing. It exists like a vibration, a feeling, a faint warmth that slips in without permission. There's no "I like you," no dramatic confession, no music forcing emotion, and yet everything feels more real because of it. Like a connection that doesn't need the spotlight to shine. Like two people who don't need to call out to know they choose each other. Like a silence that no longer feels empty, but full of something only felt by those who notice. That night may have only lasted minutes on screen, but to many viewers, it felt like entering a room that wasn't meant for the public. A room where small laughter, quiet breathing, and shrinking distance become their own language. A room where closeness isn't speculation, it's presence. And if someone asks what really happened, there is no certain answer. Only interpretation, only feeling. But aren't moments like this meant not to be explained but felt? Even after the scene ends, its shadow remains. Not because of what they did, but because of how they did it, slowly, carefully, as if anything too fast would break the warmth already there. Jikook looks at Jimin like he doesn't want to look away. Jimin looks back like he doesn't need to search for anyone else. And between those two looks, the world seems to pause to make space for something softer than love and quieter than ambition. In the end, no one knows for sure what the moment meant for them. But for us, watching with held breath, it's a reminder that closeness doesn't always need an explanation. Sometimes it just needs two people who choose to stay, in the same space, the same breath, the same feeling. And if that isn't a form of intimacy, then what is? And this is where it gets interesting. When the episode ends, the conversation doesn't. It actually begins. The timeline fills with clips, frame-by-frame analysis, and questions that never truly get answered. Not did they really, but why does the moment feel so different? Why is there something flowing between them? Undeniable yet unspoken. Something that lives in the gray area, between glances and touches, in a space built by trust and closeness. Many viewers call this a turning point, not in the show's plot, but in how the public sees them. As if the episode revealed something that had always been there behind the camera. Maturity, unspoken care, and a connection that doesn't need to be found. It already exists. If their relationship were a story, that night feels like an unwritten chapter that can be read clearly through body language and small gestures that cannot be faked. Some describe the moment as watching two people find home in each other. Not rushed, not exaggerated, just returning to a place that feels like theirs. And maybe that's why the silence in that scene is louder than any soundtrack. It speaks like a sentence never spoken, yet heard by everyone paying attention. With all the visual hints, expressions, and dynamics shown, the public is left with a question the show itself never answers. Is this just comfort between colleagues? Or is there something more than what we see? No official answer, no confirmation, only feeling, interpretation, and a warmth that lasts longer than the scene itself. Because maybe, at the end of the day, this moment isn't about certainty. It's not about what are they, but what did we feel when we saw it? And if a quiet bedroom scene can make thousands stop, rewind, and feel something deep in their chest, maybe that's enough to call it special. No labels, no statements. Sometimes the most real things are what go unsaid. But the part that sparked the most discussion wasn't the smiles or the stares, but the seconds before the camera seemed ready to turn away. Right after the lights dimmed, Jimin looks toward Jungkook, and Jungkook answers with a barely noticeable movement. One that some say feels like a signal, or perhaps an understanding shared only by two people who are very close. Right there, the camera pulls away, and the room feels suddenly out of reach. No dialogue to prove anything. No explicit moment to confirm a narrative. Just silence. A silence that becomes the source of all curiosity. As if we're given pieces of a puzzle, but not the picture. As if viewers are meant to feel, not analyze. From there, the conversation expands. Some fans wonder if it was scripted or allowed to happen naturally. Others speculate that the camera softened focus to protect a moment that felt too warm to expose. And in the middle of all the noise, one sentence repeats across platforms. Nothing happened, but it feels like something was happening. It's not about evidence. It's about atmosphere, about a feeling too real to ignore. Many point to Jimin's lowered head, quieter breath, hands barely moving, like someone receiving presence without words. Jungkook, meanwhile, doesn't seem there for the camera or the script, but for the comfort of being close. A comfort that doesn't ask to be seen. And finally, in the last moments before the scene fades out, one thing feels like a confirmation. Not of what they are, but of how they exist. Close without showing off. Quiet without explanation. Intimate without crossing a line.